Welcome to the Date Forever podcast. Keep your relationship fueled up with strategies discovered by couples and experts. Because at Fuel Collective, we believe better relationships will equal a better world. You are about to discover specific insights and tools that cost little or nothing to implement to help you date forever. And now, here are your hosts, a couple who always have a half-packed suitcase and a date night in the calendar, Sammy and Nathan Yeager.
Welcome to a brand new week of Date Forever. In this episode, we're chatting about finding and understanding our purpose in life, the big questions which remain unanswered throughout our traditional education, and uncovering how we can become more of ourselves. But before we get into that, I just wanted to ask Sammy, what's been fueling you up this week?
Ooh, I feel like I'm still finding my feet for 2021. But the thing that probably helped fuel me up the most was in the area of career and business. And it's a bit like adulty, but we met with our accountant, and shout out to Sakshi at Inspire CA. She occasionally listens, so she might hear this little plug. But it was a very adult thing to do and get all of our ducks in a row and kind of look at the budget for the year, look at the forecast for the year. What money are we anticipating making? What money are we anticipating spending? Have we got the structure in the right place? And I think that just helped me feel quite fueled up because it took away some unknowns.
Yeah, I think it's definitely helped me too, just to feel a lot more confident with our money and to know where we're at and know what our plan is for the year.
Yeah, it was also super fun to talk about the things that are outside of the normal budget. Like, I know we've got some things on the horizon that may or may not happen thanks to COVID. But even just hypothesizing like, okay, well, if we're going to go to the snow, what's that going to cost? How much extra do we need to sort of put aside for that each week? That stuff just is knowledge equals power.
Yeah, and I guess because money dovetails into everything, when you're planning out your money, you do end up planning out some of those like more special occasions or those more special trips away. And it does actually help you kind of look forward into the calendar and understand what your year's going to look like a bit more too.
Yeah, and I think because we had such a low social year last year, there's a bit of fear for me that we might be like slingshotting ourselves back. So it's like, 2020 pulled us all the way back. And then like whenever we kind of are free to go back out in the world, then it might just rocket launch us. So having the budget and knowing what we have the financial means to say yes to.
Can and can't do.
Yeah, it will help rein in some of that desire to say yes to everything because we spent all of last year inside.
Yeah.
So what about you, Nath? What was fueling you up this week?
So the things that were fueling me up this week was more around my personal self. So there's a couple of things that I've done this week to reconnect with a bit of myself, tinkering with some electronics and getting back into the garage and just connecting with some of those passions of mine that I quite often don't find time to do or that I haven't prioritized for a long time. I really enjoyed doing that.
Electrical engineer by trade and personality type and DNA.
Yeah, almost a cookie cutter example of an electrical engineer over here. Breaking that stereotype a little bit, the other thing that I did to really fuel up myself was I've now joined a footy team. So I went out for training for the first time tonight. I'm feeling a little bit sore after that, but feeling really great about it.
So that's kind of like yourself and tapping into a new network.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's for myself in lots of different reasons. Creating and nurturing that support network around me and that social network around me, but then also a bit of fitness too, and just to enjoy myself and have a bit of fun.
Shall we get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Today we've got Gerard and Francesca joining us. Gerard Sanchi spent some time in his career as a science teacher, and he saw science as a way to teach curiosity and art and as a way to spark creativity. Gerard has a firm belief that education can do more to better prepare students for life and support development of their humanity. Francesca's Rusciani's passion for big life questions started when she was just a little girl and has since developed into a lifelong journey of exploration, inquiry, and commitment to social change. After completing a master's degree in Eastern philosophy in Rome, she pursued a career in corporate program management and strategic consulting. While in the corporate space, she volunteered her skills to social and humanitarian causes and supported social entrepreneurs organizations such as Ashoka. In 2013, together they founded the non-profit Open Future Institute. They worked closely with educators and students to co-create the Question Class, a seminar-long daily class for high school students with a structured and engaging curriculum. The class supports students with some of the most important human and life questions that are the foundation of building a life of purpose. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
a pleasure.
Thank you.
So can you just tell us a little bit about Open Future Institute?
Sure. It's inspired by the sense of possibility that manifests when we create space for the fullness of our humanity, especially for students and for teachers and principals. But mainly it's a class for students, but it impacts the teachers as well because it allows their humanity to be expressed and to be seen by themselves and each other.
So when you say someone's full humanity, what do you mean by that?
Well, there are many things about who we are that often remain locked up inside, especially as teenagers in the struggle to figure out our own lives and make meaning and pursue relationships, the future. And so by having a space where you're engaging with these things that are usually private and secret, to do it together and to enter that space of really discovery and also complexity and not knowing and vulnerability, together, a lot of beauty opens up.
Yeah. So how did you come about finding yourself in this space?
I would say it's been a lifelong journey. You know, when I was a little girl, I was going through a lot of trouble, like a lot of girls, a lot of young people. I didn't know why I was alive, what my purpose in life was. My family wasn't, they had their own problems. And so I always tell this story that I was taking out my little dog, when I was 5 or 6 years old, and I was looking at the stars and I was wondering, why am I here? What am I doing here? What's the purpose of it all? And also I was looking at the stars and I was marveled by the unknown and the mystery of life. And I was also haunted by the suffering that I would see on television, that a lot of people would go through a lot of suffering in the world. And I was saying, why? And, when we're young, there is very often a big idealism inside of our heart, but we just don't have the outlet for it. So fast forward many, many years, I've come to a point in which I've been pursuing my own life, these two fundamental questions, why we're here, what's the purpose of it all, and how can we human beings express and manifest goodness in life. And so when I met Gerard, at the age of, 50 years old, when we met again, we've been friends for many, many years, and we didn't see each other for 10 years. And then when we met again, 10 years ago, right? His idealism and his vision for education met my idealism and my desire to make a difference in a way in which I could be completely myself. So I really wanted to make a difference and contribute. And at the same time, I wanted to be completely fulfilled. So that's been my life quest. What about you?
I don't know. It sparked something else in me, that how beautiful it is when we, in a relationship, can share in our desire to contribute, in our sense of what's important in life. I just feel that's really precious.
Yeah.
Francesca, it was really interesting that you said that you recall the moment where you were like lying out looking at the stars and asking yourself those two really big questions. It's like, why am I here and what is the purpose of it all? I distinctly remember having my own first experience like that. And I reckon I was maybe like 10 years old, and family friends of ours, they lived on a farm and they had a farm cat, and this cat had had kittens. And I distinctly remember holding this tiny little kitten who was probably less than a week old. And it was sitting in the palm of my hand, and I could feel it breathing and its ribs. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this little tiny little thing didn't exist a week ago. And it was born and brought into the world by another cat. And I just had this like really profound experience while holding this cat, of this realization that the world is happening all around me all of the time. And what is the point of all of this?
Wow.
That's beautiful. Wow.
So it's interesting because I've not actually reflected on that moment for a really long time, but that idea of like, why am I here and what is my purpose? That was definitely not centric to my education experience. So I'm curious to know, how have the two of you gone about embedding that or creating a program that brings education alongside those two questions?
The way we went about it was to connect with our experience and then to engage with students to really uncover the most important human questions, the most important topics. So we really dug into our own experience and what are the themes that really allow us to bring out, how we relate to life, how we, can engage with it.
Yeah, because we obviously have been working on this, for years. And at the beginning was more an intuition. Gerard had this very strong intuition that something more was possible in education. And, with his background in education, he was particularly focused to work in education. For me, it was more a general quest, about life that, transcended any specific fields. And so, we've been working with a lot of people, advisors and board members and friends, trying to hone in, what would be our contribution to a lot of wonderful work that is already happening. And so one day, we were really having a big event, you remember, with 30 or 40 of our, main, supporters, high-level business people and this and the other. And we had this grandiose vision of changing education, changing the world and all of that, this big board. And then in the middle somewhere there was this little signs, this little dot. Do you remember? Life questions with a little question marks, big life questions. And I remember, one of our advisors, or somebody, one of Gerard's, business friends and high level, and he said, "Look, guys, what is that thing? What is that thing?" And so it just helped us to see that our added value, would be really zoning into this big life questions.
When I was in college, when I was graduating, I felt like I'm not prepared for life. I don't know how to figure it out. I mean, I thought it was me at the time. And it was interesting. I went back to my 25th reunion and I shared that experience with my friends. And I found out, I can completely relate to it. So I was struck by that.
Yeah, and I'm sure that we've had a very different education to you as well, growing up opposite sides of the world and probably a couple of decades apart. But I had a very similar experience coming out of school and even out of university and still feeling like, you get taught a lot of the hard skills and this is how you do things, but not necessarily a lot of those soft skills about like what is actually your purpose, why are you here, what is life about? Like none of that really gets taught.
So it's like it is really a universal need for us human beings, as to create a wonderful life. But again, we don't have space or structures, generally in life, unless you belong to particular religious traditions or, they have a certain, maybe mindset or framework. You don't have a space to really talk together and explore, this fundamental quest that we all have, unless maybe you get a couple of beers or a vodka with your boyfriend or your girlfriend after you had nice sex or whatever it is, you're relaxed and you open up and you say, "Oh my God, what the heck am I doing here?" Right?
Have some big epiphanies. And
right. Well, you may have experiences, you may have a lot of beautiful insights and moments, but there isn't really a normal, beautiful, structured, open space where day in, day out you can engage with what is the foundation of our life. So how did we do that? I mean, that's how we all started. And then, as Gerard said, at that point, we created a first kind of vision. But then what really happened, we engaged with hundreds of students. First, it was college students, and then it was high school students. And we had ongoing, co-creative sessions and what should we address, how should we do it. And I remember people say, where should we put sex? No, we can't talk about sex in education, in public schools, it's not we're not allowed. Or where should we put God? Oh my God, where should we put trust? Where should we put fear? Where should we put love? Where should we put relationships? Because it was about addressing the totality of our experience. So, and then together, right, we came. I mean, originally, actually, it was Gerard's vision. One morning he woke up and you said, "Look, I've got these 5 points." And I said to him, "What? That looks really weird. What the heck is it?" And then they actually became the 5 main units of our program. And even those units, when we engaged with the students, we just threw them away, brought them back in. We really did this together with students and for students,
So what were the 5 pillars that you settled on?
So the first one was choice, because that connects students with their agency. And it's not just about how do you make the right choice, but it's really the profundity of choice and the mystery of choice and the fact that we're also influenced by culture and everything.
And also, obviously, it's very tangible when I talk about the choices I have in life. I mean, we all choose something, and it's like it's an easy.
Even when you're not choosing, you're still choosing.
I mean, or whatever. I choose to go to sleep, or I choose to eat a cup of, drink a cup of coffee. I mean, really, like it connects you with your agency, as Gerard is saying. And then there is also another part is that, I always found that choice can be also overwhelming, especially when you're young. You have all these choices, and I say, oh, Jesus, everybody's saying I should know this, I should know what I do and this, that. The truth of my experience is that I'm completely overwhelmed. It's like, so we address choice, on both sides. On one is the incredibly empowering. Look, I can actually make choices, and which one can I make, and what is the impact on others? And also, we make a lot of space. Look, I'm completely overwhelmed by it. I don't know. I have no clue. And it's fine. We open this space in which we say it's fine to be overwhelmed. It's fine to be confused. It's part of the human journey, isn't it? So anyway, so that's choice. That's the first one. Then
the second one is purpose. So once students connect with their agency, then it's a space to explore what purpose is, how purpose can be created, discovered. We don't approach this materialistically that students find their purpose, but so they can have a way to engage with the stirring of purpose in themselves.
And this is also very important because, as you know, there's so many programs out there which obviously add a lot of value, but also I feel imprison yourself even more. I don't know if you had it in your life experience. Find your passion, find your purpose. What is your purpose? I don't know. I have no idea. What is this? It's so confusing. I don't know. I know when I was 15, 16, 17, all people say, what do you want to do in life? And I said, I don't know. I know I just like people. That's all I like. But you know what I mean? It wasn't a good answer. So the way we approach purpose, as Gerard is saying, is again opening up the space that our life is worth it a lot. And we're going to find out what it is.
And often when you get told, try and find your purpose, it puts more pressure on you and you end
I
up being more blocked than...
I always said, not only I have to have good grades, now I also got to have a purpose and I also got to have a passion. I mean, I'm done.
Yeah, that's really interesting too, because you know those catchphrases like, find the thing that you love and you'll never work a day in your life, like that's really actually quite misleading, and it implies that there won't ever be work, and therefore if you're feeling like the thing that you're doing is work, then it's clearly not your passion, which could be completely contradictory. It could be that you're really loving it. And something that I've learned is that growth and opportunity comes from challenge and hard work. So sometimes if you're not experiencing that, that's an indication that it's totally not your purpose at all. So yeah, I really like that you've centered purpose as a pillar in there.
And sometimes if you work what seems to be like just a meaningless job, it actually may give you the skills that you need in order to do something much more meaningful in the future. So you never know. Yeah. The next one is fearlessness.
Yes, that's my favorite.
So go for it then.
Okay, so fearlessness. Look, to be yourself, to navigate through life, to live, it takes a lot of guts, a lot of courage. It takes a very big heart, right? And somebody said life is not for the faint ones. You know what I mean? So it's like it takes a lot of courage. And when we talk about fearlessness, it's not obviously the lack of fear, but the fact, look, you're going to have fear. You're going to have all sorts of fear. Fear sometimes is also something very good. It's a trigger. It's something. Once I realized that I can do something with my life and maybe I can pursue maybe, a sense of worthiness, a sense of direction, which I don't know what it is. It takes a lot of guts to do that because everybody else is telling you, not because they mean bad, but maybe because they love you in their own ways, telling you should do this, you should do that, you should do that, you should do that. So, all your dreams, and even when you don't know what your dreams are, but you just want to find out, boom. So fearlessness is really the courage to be yourself and the courage to love. We have one lesson plan because each one of these units is really divided in a very specific lesson plans with objective as exercise. So in fearless, we have one of the lesson plans is called the courage to love, which is beautiful, right? So anyway, so that's fearlessness. Yeah.
All right, so then we go to interconnectedness. The first three pillars of the program are more about the empowerment of the individual, the connection with the individual, with their experience. So in interconnectedness, it's really a place to explore who we are in the context of being interrelated with others.
So, what is our relationship with our family, with our peers, with the school, with the society, with the world at large, with nature? Do we feel with social media? It's like all these things are very concrete.
To what degree are we individuals? To what degree are we part of a whole? It gives a space for students to really reflect on all of the different aspects of interconnectedness. And then the last one is bigger picture. So what is the bigger picture? In what ways do I understand it? What is it? How do I look at things from a bigger picture? How do I deal with challenges of perspectives? All of these are like fundamental areas of life. There's no formula really to capture all of these things. So this is a way to make sense, to make some sense of our experience and to touch on some of the more fundamental areas and our sense of who we are in relationship to something bigger. And some describe that as through their religion that they experience that. Some of them is through their mother.
But I always tell this story. I was in this class and there was this little kid, I still remember his name, Jonathan, very like on one corner, would never speak, very shy, that obviously had a lot of troubles in his life. So we were doing about bigger picture. And then he would write. He would never speak, but he would always write. And then so that particular time I said to him, Jonathan, is there anything you want to share about bigger picture? And he said, my puppy, my puppy dog. And I was like, what? And he said, yeah, for me, bigger picture is my puppy dog. And I said, oh, wow, why? How come? And he said, because when I'm with my dog, gives me so much happiness and tenderness and love and cuddles. And it's love, when I'm with my dog, all I experience is love. So I said, so bigger picture is love, isn't it? And he said, oh, yes. But the beautiful thing of all of this, which I also really cared about, is the fact that the students do it together. And we are also beautifully unique, because, there is only one Sammy and there's only one Nathan as far as I know. And there's only one Gerard and one Franci. I don't know anybody else like me. At the same time, you see that, your journey is my journey. And so it has a lot of power to also come out of isolation and bigger impact. Because, when you have an Asian kid and an African kid and they realize that they're beautifully unique and yet they're different, but also they're same, the impact is very, very profound at many different levels.
So I just want to do a recap. So the 5 were choice, purpose, fearlessness, interconnectedness, and a bigger picture. And I mean, this is a big part of why we wanted to invite you onto the show, is obviously the show is called the Date Forever podcast. And really what we've been talking about is this idea of dating yourself forever and getting to know yourself in a really deep and intimate way about these 5 different pillars. So obviously lots of us probably didn't grow up with the gift of a program like this in our education system. So if we've somehow arrived in our adult life and we don't know some of these things, are there some tips or exercises or activities that people can do to tap into some of these areas?
Like, for instance, we have one that contemplates to what degree we are unique, to what degree we're all the same. It's a wonderful way to grapple with our individuality and our collectivity. In terms of tips, I mean, I felt like I was in the dark as a teenager, trying to pursue something that I felt was present. And I think when I look back at my experience, it really doesn't matter where you start, because even halfway through your journey, I was and I'm still always trying to focus on the light. And what the light means is it means who I am really. It's always like having the courage to pursue that, take the risks to pursue that. In the end, the source of strength is who we really are. And there's a lot that we have to seemingly break through. In the end, I spent 25 years trying to overcome some of my weaknesses. And in the end, I realized, well, no, they're part of who I am. It seemed like an obstacle at the time. So it's more about going to the essence of who we are, to who we really are, than necessarily dealing with a lot of those things that seem like obstacles. That's why there's something just powerful about pursuing that center.
Yeah, you both talked about your journey of getting to know yourselves as being lifelong. If somebody's not invested any time yet or hasn't really, started to scratch the surface of getting to know themselves, what would you recommend? Where should they start?
Well, I would say that first of all, it's not that far away. Knowing yourself can seem such an esoteric thing and can see such, oh my God, how am I going to know myself? Then I need to do yoga, meditation, or psychotherapy, of this or that or the other, Tony Robbins. I mean, whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever. There isn't one way. There is really not one way, you know what I mean? But I think that the main point is just as you know, I mean, Sammy and Nathan, you know yourself, like really connect with yourself and with your life, you know, just 1 minute, you know, are you happy? Are you not? And why you're happy and why you're not? And, you know, what is your relationship with others? Because I really, really feel that each one of us, you know, also wants to make a difference and impact. And you can make a difference being a wonderful mom or being like, you know, anything, writing tons of books, you know. For everyone is different. For me, I was haunted all my life. Is that I got to find a way to bring peace and love to the world. I've got to find a way to get out of this mess that I'm in. I've got to find a way to be happy. I was haunted. But that was me. For some other people, it may be sweet, sweet whisper, you know, that, oh, look, you know, maybe there is something more in life, or it's so different, you know. So I think at the entry point is anywhere, anytime. There aren't really rules.
But what struck me too is that we already are who we are. I mean, we already are who we are. So there is an element of searching. It's more the joy of discovery and the joy of manifesting. I feel like I'm always still trying to manifest more of who I am, which, you know, is not necessarily different than who anybody else is. So it's a little bit of a paradox, because in some ways it seems like something's missing and that we have to, you know, pursue it. And in another way, it's all already there. But I know when Francesca came and she was worried about purpose and how she could be who,
when I came to New York.
And she for her, it seemed like something was missing in her life. But I experienced it as the search itself is the self. It was already something beautiful. It's actually beautiful to feel like something more is possible. It's not that something's missing. It's actually something more is possible. And that sense of possibilities comes directly. It is an expression of ourself. So in a way, we are searching for something, but the fact that we're searching is actually a part of who we are being expressed.
So it sounds like it's that sense of feeling like you are enough as you currently are, so that you can become more.
Yeah, you were enough maybe on the inside, and then the beauty is like I feel like there's more, and I feel like I want to materialize it on the outside.
I mean, that is my experience now, but for many, many years, you know, my experience was not that I was enough, was that I was lucky and that I had this big hole inside, that I was suffering, that nobody wanted me, that I wasn't good enough. I mean, that's also the other side, you know, so it depends also on which moment you are in your life. And, you know, because for me, I mean, again, I was also my whole life, guys. I mean, I don't want to be a rosy picture. I suffered like crazy for 50 years. I mean, it wasn't easy, you know. And why did I suffer? Because I felt I didn't have enough love. I couldn't find love. I couldn't find the sense to give. I wanted more. I mean, on and on and on. So if you have something that, you know, is calling you to more, whatever it is, or to less suffering, more happiness, whatever, never give that up. Hold to that pull, like with your dear life. Hold to that like anything else. Then you can work, not work, by family. But if you have something that is pulling you, right, whether towards or away from something, it's just go for it. Never give up. I never give up, honestly. My whole life, I never give up. And then I arrive at 50 years old that, you know, miraculous is or whatever it is, because now I'm able to express and manifest my love that I have inside, right? So have I found my purpose? Yes. And at the same time, you know, it's like it's ongoing. So you can be completely fulfilled and then you want more, or you can be not fulfilled at all, but just...
And in a way, it doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter whether it's challenging or easy. What's the beauty is what's manifesting. How do you bring the love out?
Yeah. So switching gears a little bit to your relationship. So is there a tip or something which you've discovered within your own relationship to keep it alive and to keep it fueled up?
One, keep on being sexy and hot and just like, you know, that never give up that, you know, if that's who you are, baby, you want to keep on enticing your man in whatever way you can.
That's really beautiful.
I could work on that department. A tip for me is... Something for me that's really powerful is the trust in love. It's a little bit like when we have a hard time in life, we can be convinced of like things are bad and something's wrong, right? Something's wrong when we're going through a challenge. I've just struck by that in our relationship, that the foundation of love is so strong that it doesn't seem to matter, it's easier to let go. Letting go is really important in a relationship because, in fact, in this relationship, we got married at 50. I had learned by that point that I do not want to accumulate ideas about who Francesca is. Not just bad ideas, but also good ideas. I really wanted to let go and make space for who she is and also space for who I am. What I find is the foundation of love is actually what allows us to let go, or even to experience, like, sometimes we have a conflict about something. Most of the time it's minor things. Occasionally it's like a stronger conflict that it doesn't seem like there's a resolution, and we don't come to a resolution. I'm struck by that. We don't come to a resolution, but the intention to have resolution itself mysteriously takes care of it in a way that we don't necessarily need to agree on a solution, but it's just that, and it brings it back to the source, the foundation, which is love.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's really beautiful.
So I am a witness of the fact, when I got married to Gerard, he kept on saying, I'm not going to put you in a box. And a lot of the times I just listened to that and said, wow, it sounds cool, but what is that? You know what I mean? It wasn't really where I was coming from. But I'm a witness after 10 years that actually that's where it's coming from, And for me, this particular aspect of really seeing that there is so much more in the person you love. I'm a control freak. I'm a woman. I mean, beautiful women who are listening out there, I say that with all my love. We women are control freaks. There is a reason for that. We want to protect ourselves. There's nothing bad around it, but that's part of our nature, right? So I have that doubled up to the max. So I order things all the time. I'm very tidy. And all the time I complain with Gerard. I say, look, can't you just be more tidy? It's not really messy, but my standards are really And one of the things Gerard does, sometimes if he has a clean t-shirt and a clean sweater, if they're clean, at night he takes it out and he folds it, both of them together, right? Then he puts them in the closet because maybe he just wore them like 10 minutes and then he wants to wear. And he always drives me nuts. I say, look, why don't you take the t-shirt out and put it where the t-shirts are and the sweater when the sweaters are, right? And it just really annoyed the hell out of me. And all of a sudden I realized, gee, the guy is doing this because he's incredibly creative. For him, it's actually, it's not because it's messy, it's actually because it's such a genius creativity. He's very, very creative. It's like his ideas, like he has created a new innovative way to be faster in the morning or whatever it is. All of a sudden, I've realized, oh my God, of course, this is who Gerard is. And there is so much more of him. So me stopping to be controlling in these little things, but out of a place of love, because I tried to stop controlling before because I'm bad, I have to stop. No, just of a place of love. I just am starting really to see there is so much more of him that I don't know. And it's so beautiful.
Yeah, that's really beautiful.
So before we kind of wrap up, I'd love to know, if couples are in the first sort of few years of their relationship and they're figuring out some of this stuff about their own individual purpose and what their bigger role is in this world, what's a skill or a strength or something that they should work on that'll bear fruit for the rest of their relationship?
First of all, really enjoy each other, love each other. And you marry this person because, there was a reason for that. And unless they're really gone astray, become, somebody that you really despise, and so that. And then there are very small things also. One of those small things that I would really like to share. Don't, and it seems very stupid, but never go to sleep angry. Never go to sleep upset. Never do this small thing. But that has helped me in some moments, of difficulties. And also whenever, if you're going to have arguments or whatever, don't let it go too long. Cut it. If you need to go for it and have a fight or whatever it is, I'm Italian, I'm emotional, probably. But it's just like, don't let it go too long, no more than half an hour or whatever it is. And hopefully it's going to be less and less. Do not drag. And the last thing I would say it again is really Don't try to have the other person be like you in small, many little things, because you're going to get them deadly bored. And when you stop trying to have really the other person be like you in small, big things, you're going to have a lot of strength in yourself, and you're going to see and support the other on this. And for men, I would just say one thing, guys. A woman wants to be safe. So if you're a guy, please, just make a woman feel that you are there and you're providing her a really safe, beautiful space from where she can fly. When you make your woman feel that you are really committed, you're there no matter what, you are there, you know what I mean? And you love her and you are there, that safety, that mattress allows your girl to shine and fly, and you get so much in return. And for girls, for us, for women, just don't try to control him every single minute of the day as I do,
Gerard, was there one that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I guess creating space for discovery, because I was realizing the other day, I was telling Francesca that I only had one serious relationship before, and the other ones were shorter, one more long-term relationship. But I was telling Francesca that I remember when we went on a holiday once, we went to this beautiful in the Swiss Alps, and we were in a beautiful restaurant, and I was sitting there with my girlfriend at the time and feeling like I don't have anything to say to her. And I was realizing that though sometimes I may not feel like speaking with Francesca, I generally have a lot to say. She has a lot to say. I have a lot to say. And I think part of what happened with my previous relationship is it's easy because you become very familiar with someone that you think you know who they are and that you think you know who you are. And so that space for discovering more of the other and more of yourself is really an amazing thing, to make that space or to just have the awareness of that space. And I remember Francesca said something that really struck me once when we were working really hard. She's like, I want to go on holidays. We'd never take a holiday. And she said, I want to find out who you are on the vacation. And I thought that was a really beautiful thing. It's like, it was an expression of that very sentiment, that there's more to discover, always more to discover about ourselves.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Gerard. I really like that, because it's that continuous discovery, that continuous dating of yourself and your chosen person. Francesca and Gerard, thank you so much for joining us today and letting us have a bit of a peek behind the curtains of your life's work, but also your relationship. Francesca, as I've mentioned to you, supporting education projects is a huge part of why Nathan and I went about creating the Fuel Collective, so that we can empower young couples, but also that we can use that as a vehicle to make impacts in the world in line with the United Nations global goals. So to say thank you for joining us, we've sponsored a week's worth of education via a project in Cambodia. It's looked after by an organisation called Free to Shine, and we were able to do that via our partnership with Buy One, Give One. What that project does is encourage girls to stay in school a lot longer, and the longer that they can stay in school, the greater the flow-on effects for the rest of their life. So thank you so much for making that possible.
That's beautiful.
I want to say thank you for creating this space of discovery and exploration. So it's wonderful. It's a gift to all of us.
Not a problem. It's been great to have you on. So, Francesca and Gerard, if our listeners want to connect with you or want to learn a little bit more about your work or about yourselves, how should they connect with you?
Our website?
Yes, our website is www.openfutureinstitute.org.
Perfect. We'll pop it in the show note. Thank you so much, guys. Wishing you all the best for as this project evolves and, you roll it out across the different ages and stages of the education system.
Thanks heaps for joining us. If you love what we're doing here and want more, subscribe to the Date Forever podcast to make sure you never miss an ep. Come and hang out with us and other awesome couples who are fueling up their relationships in the Thriving Couples Collective Facebook group, or check us out at fuelcollective.com.au. Until next time, keep on dating, because better relationships equal a better world.